Uh-huh. I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you, you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box. And you cannot compare them at all, so don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean Dyer, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Yeah. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Woo. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday. We unfortunately don't have a football game.
I know, it's hard to believe.
Nothing to talk about. So that's it. End of the podcast. That's me and Matt. We'll talk to you guys later. Now, we're going to recap the game on Tuesday between the Bills and Titans, talk a little bit of NFL news and notes, and then we will get out of here. We did just want to pop in and talk a little bit here. Matt, how you doing on vacation there? And I saw a little notice popped up on my phone about 30 minutes ago. As you know, with my family living in Colorado, my phone always seems to think I still live there, and so I still get weather alerts. I guess you guys got a freeze warning coming in the morning from what I see from my phone.
Yeah, it was we picked a banner a couple of days to go someplace with an outdoor pool. It was at 10 a.m. we went down to the pool so I could try the lazy river. It was probably 42 degrees outside. So fortunately they heat the water, but not enough to overcome the bracing cold.
Yeah, not enough to run out there and freezing weather to jump into the heated pool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and we were excited. Tonight was supposed to be the night we're at this resort, the Denver airport. They have a sports bar that has this huge, I think I told you, LED wall of screens. And so I was like, yeah, we'll get to watch Thursday Night Football. It's just like, oh, that'll be fun. I'm like, yeah, now there's no game. But I did get a new black and orange Broncos shirt yesterday.
Very nice. Got to make sure to rock that on Sunday when the Broncos beat the Patriots. Are they playing Sunday, right, or did that get moved to Monday night? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, they're playing on Sunday. There was talk they were going to put them as the Thursday night game because, if you're Fox, you got to be sitting there like, we paid you $1 billion to have Thursday night games, and now they get a Monday 5 p.m. Eastern game. So,
yeah. I mean, I'd imagine that it's going, oh, that's right, they do play. Who's who's playing the Monday night game? I already forgot.
They took the Thursday night game.
That's right. Chiefs
at Bills, and they kept it with Fox, but it starts at 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday, and then the normal ESPN Monday Night Football. So I saw Fox is even planning to air its normal Monday night shows because the game's going to be over before it gets to prime time, and on a Monday that's not a holiday. That's
well, that's what I was thinking
the
about
ratings you're looking for.
That sucks even more. Like I would have at least would have preferred 5 or 6.
Yeah.
My time, because then you at least get a little bit 5 o'clock Eastern. That's 4 o'clock my time. 3 o'clock for you guys. That's rough.
2 o'clock in California.
Yeah.
So Bills fans who are in New York, their game starts at 5, but the Chiefs, their fans 4 o'clock on a Monday. You might as well take the day off if you want to, or the afternoon off if you want to get that in. We'll probably be doing our recap while they're starting because that's super early.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. That's going to kind of suck because I'm actually in my biggest league where I don't actually own Josh Allen in a lot of places, which is a little disappointing. Oh, nope, that's not good. My laptop's about to die. So I may disappear for a second. I'll be probably getting a little upset if that game's close come Monday night, and then I'm gonna have to sit here and watch and pay attention to Josh Allen and see how good he's gonna do during the game. But let's recap that game. I completely forgot to put the score on here, but the Bills got waxed by the Titans, which I don't think either one of us.
It was 42 42-14, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us was expecting the Bills to get waxed like that. I felt like we both thought it was going to be the other way around. Sure looked like the Bills were the team that hadn't played in like 2 weeks, and not necessarily the Titans. They came out on fire. On the Bills side here, Allen gets 18 points, Yeldon 13, Singletary 3, and Stephon Diggs 10. Fantasy points wise, it looks good for Allen, but it was not a good game overall for Josh Allen in this one. And the big thing that I took away from this, are you worried about Devin Singletary? We thought, Zach Moss being out, here we go. Singletary's going to get a lot of run. Yet Yeldon gets involved a ton in this one.
Well, to be fair, Yeldon's touchdown pass, which was the bulk of his points, seemed a little bit like a little bit of a YOLO throw from Josh Allen because they were down and trying to make a comeback. But, the first couple weeks Moss was out, it certainly seemed like it was just Singletary. But then Tuesday night, when they got down, they started mixing in other running backs. So it is a little bit concerning. Then you saw Buffalo was in the final three to try to get Bell. It seems like they've been eliminated right now, but I don't think that's a big vote of confidence for Moss, who didn't look incredible when he's been out, or Singletary, who he looked really good. I thought he turned a corner in that game against the Raiders, but didn't see a lot from Tennessee. And Tennessee, they certainly did not look like a team that's taken 14 days off practice, which might explain some of the reports coming out of their camp.
Apparently they haven't been. That's kind of what we talked about the other day. So, they looked really good for a team that's been sitting around at their house for 14 days. I think most NFL teams, I bet you all the players now are all of a sudden like, see, look, this is why we don't need to practice this much. We don't need that many preseason games. Look at how good we are when we just get to sit around.
Yeah, the announcers could not have more times talked about how put upon the Titans are having to take 16 days off. And it's not like they just had to take 16 days, they partially did it to themselves.
And let's just go there really quick because we're about to talk about the Titans anyways. Did you see the post that I think it was Taylor Lewan, their offensive tackle, posted on Twitter? Someone walked up with the camera in his face and he said something I can't remember the exact words, so this quote's not going to be 100% correct, but it was something to the effect of, see, you guys can't put us in a corner. You can't make us out to be the bad guys. Something. It's not like we wanted this or we didn't do this to ourselves. So this is what happens when you put us in a corner. I'm like, what do you mean you guys didn't do this to yourselves? None of us made you guys go out there and practice and break all the protocols. I'm so confused at your statement right there.
Yeah, and it's a good thing they have a few weeks before that Steelers game, because I think if they had played the Steelers yesterday, there's a bunch of – that's the thing. There's a bunch of teams that are being impacted because of this. It's not just, you guys may not have gotten to practice all that much, but there was a bunch of teams that have their schedules all shifted around and are going to have to go. The Titans aren't the only team that now has to play its last 12 games?
Yeah.
No, 13 games. Has to play its last 13 games without a break. That happened to Pittsburgh too, and they literally did nothing. Pittsburgh and Baltimore have had to shift their schedules. Denver had that happen last week. So whether they broke the rules or not, they claim they didn't. It certainly seems like there's evidence they did. We'll have to see what the NFL says. I was really bothered by the fact they were making them out to be the world's biggest victims.
Yeah.
They're probably not even the biggest victims in this situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm almost positive, I could be wrong, but I just swore today on the radio, they were saying that the NFL has already released some of their investigations saying that they have found that the Titans did nothing wrong. So I don't.
That's what I thought that the NFL was.
Yeah. Okay. I could have swore I saw that this morning, and I was like, okay. So that picture just kind of was just nothing. Like we don't know. We weren't there, but I would imagine there's just no way for it to have gotten that bad that somebody didn't do something, because no other team has struggled with this. I mean, the most we've seen in some places has been 1-2 positive tests. I mean, we'll see what happens with Atlanta now, but from everything I'm hearing, it's one test right now, and it's not even a player. It's a staff member. So I'm kind of confused at how Tennessee could have gotten this bad.
Well, and the real thing for them now, they had enough time off that, we've seen quite a few of the people, it was going to be a real competitive disadvantage. They had no receivers. Brown was beaten up. He had enough time to fully heal up. He looks great.
Yeah.
Humphreys just came off COVID IR. Looks like Corey Davis is going to come off the COVID IR. They're pulling a lot of their defender players back. I was a little frustrated about the Patriots one too, because if they would have played last Monday, or even if they would have made the game tonight, probably no Cam Newton, but now almost certainly, and they're saying now Gilmore will be back. So
yeah, that's I don't even know. And I was gonna say, even with that, like I feel they've gotten more. The Broncos, well, I guess the Patriots in a way, because they also had a thing, but I felt like they got a little bit more shafted than.
Yeah, because we practiced all the way through Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You had to practice.
They did full practice on Saturday because Sunday would have been their travel day because it was a Monday night game.
Yeah, that I imagine has got to piss players off even more to think, because at least with the Steelers Titans, you found out pretty early in the week, even though you can't go anywhere, at least you get to relax, likely for a couple days, spend time with your family. Denver Patriots, like you're all the way up, and then all of a sudden, nope, you're done. And then okay, so no bye week for us whatsoever, really.
One of the players here likened it to going to school all week and driving really hard, and at the end of the day on Friday, your teacher comes up and tells you, "Hey kids, that was Christmas break. See you on Monday."
Oh yeah, I could have. That's actually perfect.
But that's kind of not like Denver won't benefit. I thought Locke would have gone on Monday night. Fangio said he probably wouldn't have, but he probably will now on Sunday. And it looks like Noah Fant may not actually miss a game because he's back practicing, and they think there's a decent chance he plays on Sunday. So it helps Denver a little bit too. But it's just. That was probably the part on Tuesday night. It was like, I don't know if it's just because it was a blowout or whatever, but they kept. Yeah. CBS didn't roll out its A team either, or even or its C team. They found a couple of guys who didn't have anything going on in their lives and were willing to spend a week in Tennessee.
Yeah,
and they just talked about 16 days. It's just such hardship for this team, and Mike Vrabel deserves to be coach of the year. And I'm like, I can't.
Yeah,
this game is crushing me from a fantasy standpoint. This game is crushing me from a visual standpoint. I gotta log off here.
Well, you know what? I'll say that makes a little bit more sense why I was enjoying it a little bit more, because I had it muted most of the time. Actually, I was just watching the game because I had a bunch of other stuff going on. I was just kind of checking in, so. Makes a little bit of sense now.
I was bummed I didn't play AJ Brown because he looked incredible.
Oh, I know. I mean, the one league that I had him in, I ended up winning anyways by 4 points, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I was like, oh well, okay, so he is still going to be good. That's good to know.
Well, and that was probably the hardest part for fantasy players, because when they don't have those practice days, they're not required to really fill out the injury and participation. So you were getting they listed him an estimate of limited. Well, what does that mean, an estimate of limited? When he first got injured in that Denver game, I didn't think it was that bad. And all of a sudden he missed 2 or 3 games. And it's like, well, something must be really going on. They said there was swelling. So, sometimes you take those bad beats. I felt bad. Then on Monday, we basically my thing was I need to see him do it. Well, we saw him do it in the first quarter. So.
Interesting. We're not working on Twitter for some reason. I don't know why. Anyways, Titans side here. So Tannehill 30 points, Hunter Henry, Derrick Henry 18, AJ Brown 14, Jonnu Smith 16. I mean, have we reached the point where we're starting the core 4 here on Tennessee every single week?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, especially quarterback. Which, for those of you that look for our consensus rankings, we didn't do a set for today because there's no games, obviously, and practice reports. But quarterback this week is not good. There are a lot of good quarterbacks on bye, and then you have other guys who are injured or completely inconsistent. Ryan Tannehill, I think he's going right up into low range quarterback 1 territory. It's definitely this week, but could potentially going forward. One thing he has over some of these other guys is he's not getting thrown around. His coach doesn't seem inept, and he's not turning the ball over. So there are guys I like that are talented, but Deshaun Watson seems trapped with no talent around him. That's lowered him. Carson Wentz has no line, a guy we thought might be quarterback one potential. Baker doesn't have to throw that much. There's guys that pop in and out. I really liked Burrow before this last week, and then we saw him take a step back. But Tannehill just seems to be fairly steady. He doesn't have the ceiling of some of those top end guys, but he doesn't have the floor that's going to just kill you.
Oh, I'm really trying to figure out what's going on here. My whole Twitter is not working at all. On my phone, on my computer, nothing. I don't know if it's just Twitter or me. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Jonnu Smith, we talked about it Monday. I thought he was going to have a big game here. Gets bailed out a little bit by that touchdown, which I think is questionable whether he was completely over the line or not. I know they said he wasn't. I guess I can't say I'm happy about it because in the league I needed to win. I ended up still losing by 4 points. So, but it is good to see him kind of balling out just in the fact that I called him as my tight end sleeper this year, and he seems to definitely be coming through for me there. So.
There was that moment of extreme happiness for you on Monday after Smith caught that touchdown where he said, I might still be alive. I just need Josh Allen to get me 4 points. And then we saw Matt Barkley come on to the field. And I feel like that's the reaction many people have had to Matt Barkley coming onto the field for their team in his time as a pro.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. And I was mad about it at first, obviously, because, I don't want to lose. And all I needed him to go out there was, if he throws a touchdown, I win. That's all I needed. But I got it. You're down. There's a minute 30, I think, left on the clock. You're down 3-4 touchdowns. You're not going to come back and win it, obviously. Don't put him out there and risk him getting hurt. It was a smart decision by the Bills.
It was 42-16, by the way, the final score. I forgot about a field goal and a missed extra point.
Gotcha. So for some of the news and notes here for today's game, for this weekend, I believe we talked about it on Monday or Tuesday. I'm sure we did. Le'Veon Bell getting cut by the Jets.
He got released after we were off the air Tuesday night.
Did he?
It was during that game.
Gotcha. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So he was down to 3 teams, as Matt mentioned earlier, which was the Bills, Chiefs, and Dolphins. He has now narrowed it down to 2, the Chiefs and the Dolphins. I'm going to be honest, the Dolphins makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. I know we talked about them having an outside chance to make the playoffs, but I think it's an outside chance. I guess he's just doing it for the money. I mean, everything I've seen on Twitter said that they're waving around a lot of money at him. So,
also living in South Beach.
I mean, yeah, that's great, but
I'm not sure though, from a production standpoint, that they have a better offense. I mean, although if Myles Gaskin can be a running back too,
he's been good. That's the thing. He's actually been good. I mean, he's not. I'm never going to say he's anything close to what Bell was in his prime, but is it also fair to say that what Bell has shown us this year and kind of toward the end of last year, from what I've seen, Myles Gaskin's better?
That's the question for me, though. How, what does Bell have left? Nobody looks good playing for Adam Gase. I mean, Ryan Tannehill.
Jamison Crowder looks good. You take that back. So.
Ryan Tannehill, who we're now talking about as potential quarterback one, got traded for a bag of Cheetos last 2 off seasons ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of what he looked like in that system in Miami. We've seen plenty of people who we thought were gone. And even look at what Devontae Parker became after, it seemed like he was one of the biggest wide receiver busts ever. And I know we were probably more hesitant to believe that 5th-year breakout because he had looked so bad before, but he seems to be following that up pretty decently. And there's a long line of people that, wanted to get out of New York. Even Jamal Adams nobody was as down as they are about Bell, but he looks revitalized coming out. And Le'Veon Bell, angry Bell sometimes is the best Bell. And that seems, to me, it's a question of whether he wants money and the South Beach lifestyle or if he wants to win. Because if he wants to win and he wants to show that he's still a vital player for for when you take a short-term deal and you go to Kansas City with that offense and you show that you've still got it left and you go to a team that has a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl, you try to get a title, and then you parlay it into something else.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see which way he goes. I mean, I don't own a lot of Gaskin anywhere. I traded him high when I could earlier, so I guess in the long run, I really don't care if he goes to Dolphins. I actually have a couple places of CEH, so I'd kind of prefer him not to go to Kansas City.
So that's the only part, like from a fantasy standpoint, anyone that has Myles Gaskin was just pumped that they got a running back they could play. And I actually have, ironically, with Bell being released in one of my leagues, I had to put Gaskin in to be my running back too because I don't have one this week. But then, if Bell signs there, it's just like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. CEH was a guy that went 101 in a ton of places, and a lot of those teams took him to be like their reliable every week starter. I think that would be probably super crushing for fantasy. Yep. I have one where I had CEH and Bell as my starting running backs. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, I've got him in 2. One where he just happened to fall to like 1-9 in a rookie draft, and I was like, man, at this point, I'm taking him like a starting running back at 1-9. I'm not that I'm down on him, but I didn't have him as high as some other people did. And then the other one was a contract league where we did it before the draft even started, and I got him. It's like $1,000. I think is our salary, and I got him on a 5-year contract for $20 a year. Like I just got him really cheap, and I was like, okay, and then. Obviously, he's looked the way he's looked. It's looked great for me. Getting Bell there is going to kind of suck, but I'll be interested to see. I don't know. I saw, obviously, him talking about being down to the Chiefs or Dolphins. Did you see him say when he's going to make that decision?
It's supposed to be today, but I haven't seen anything. It's it's after 6 o'clock on the East Coast. It's after 5 o'clock Kansas City. So either way, you won't have Bell this week because they were talking about if he signs, he has to go through 5 days of COVID testing. So the earliest you're talking about really seeing him on the field is week 7. But you're going to have to brace because I honestly think he's going to Kansas City. There were a lot of reports last night that he was actually in the Kansas City area and was, up there so he could take a physical for them.
I mean, it makes more sense in my opinion. Like again, you're only going to Miami for the money. I mean, the only other thing I can think of is if they're offering him I don't want to say a long-term contract, if they're offering him some kind of 2 or 3 year contract, because I do think Miami could be competing next year. They have looked good.
So if you're Miami, then do you release Jordan Howard? I mean, if you sign Le'Veon Bell, you still have Breida who's hanging around, who's got some skills. You have obviously Gaskin, who's a guy that's shown more. I would think Howard's out. I don't even know what a market would be for him.
I think Howard's kind of already on the outs. He was a healthy scratch last week. They rolled with Breida and Gaskin last week, and Gaskin got most of the work. So that's why I don't know. It just Miami seems a weird fit to me. Like Buffalo, as much as I wouldn't want him to go there either, because I have a few shares of Singletary. It makes sense. He fits that offense. It's a winning team. Like Miami I don't understand it. Like I said, it has to be money and possible contract length.
Unless
I can think of.
Unless you see Miami as a team on the rise, which some of us believe. I don't think that rises this year, but like you said, if he gets a 2 or 3 year deal and he sees a team that's going to be fun, there's a desirability to Miami that has nothing to do with football. If you were just looking if you think about Bell, kind of some of the same reason that people end up going to like the Lakers or the Heat in basketball, because you're in those kind of big glamorous cities. Le'Veon Bell, we know, has a music career and some other interests and stuff. I could see that aspect of being in Miami. I know Miami is where he went when he was holding out from the Steelers. He was down there in South Beach working out and doing stuff. A lot of players like that kind of Florida South Beach vibe. So there is an atmosphere thing that could be there. If it's if I'm Le'Veon Bell's agent, I'm pushing him towards the Chiefs, because if you still are what you say you are, you can prove it by going to a good team and excelling in a system that's ideal for you. Because, the Chiefs aren't looking for their running back to run for 150 yards a game. They're happy if you get 60 or 70 yards and get 60 or 70 yards passing, if you can do some creative things, if you can block. Those are all things that he should be able to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Jets were a good system. I'm still of the opinion he's got something left and he was in a bad situation. But that puts even more pressure on going to the right. That would be, to me, a detriment if you were looking at Miami. Is I'm not sure their line or their system is great for a running back. We haven't seen consistently great production from anyone in there, or consistently great usage. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick was their leading rusher in 2019. So, you might be just trading one kind of tough line situation for another.
All right, so Melvin Gordon, I know this happened Tuesday night. The news got released Wednesday that he was caught speeding, was it 30, 35 miles over the speed limit while under the influence. Nothing is going to happen to him this week unless the Broncos decide to do something. The NFL is not going to decide to suspend him now, and something I posted in our Discord channel. If you really go back and look at the NFL, they usually tend to wait until the legal system plays out. Well, his arraignment isn't until mid-November. So unless Denver decides to do something, I don't think if you have Melvin Gordon, you need to be necessarily worried about anything at the moment. But what are you? Yeah, your boots down there in Denver. You're on the scene. You know what's going on. What's everybody talking about there with Melvin Gordon?
Well, he got sent home from practice yesterday, and when Fangio was pressed about it, he said everything's on the table. I think he will probably get deactivated this week. Whether that goes long term, I don't know. They said there's another one. They said they were hoping to make a decision by today. But I have not seen anything definitive come out. So I was just going to go search. Neither of us seem to have Twitter right now. So.
I think all of Twitter's down. I logged out and tried to log back in, and it said there's something wrong. We're working on it. It wouldn't even let me log in. So I'm wondering if maybe all of Twitter's down. I know that's happened recently. Yeah, I was trying to pull it up too to see if I could find anything else, but I'm not seeing anything, which I guess is good because I was a little bit worried there my Twitter might have been getting hacked or something. So it just looks like Twitter is not working. But yeah, I mean, again, if the Denver does it, you're firing up Philip Lindsay, obviously. But I don't think the NFL does anything anytime soon. It's going to have to come from Denver.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking to see. I don't think they made any.
Yeah, Ricky just texted me that Twitter is down. So.
Yeah, and I don't see any. Oh, Melvin Gordon was practicing today.
Okay.
So maybe that's a positive sign. They said they were looking at making a decision today, so we'll see what Fangio goes with. My gut feeling was that they were going to deactivate him for this week, but we'll see.
And obviously, Matt won't be with us here tomorrow, but me and Dennis will be back. So if they do end up deactivating him today, we will make sure to let you guys know about that. Not necessarily a big thing, but I do think something you need to watch because we haven't got much news about this. Odell Beckham was sent home from Browns practice today sick, or they said with an illness. That's all they said. Could mean a million different things. Obviously, right now, when someone hears sick or illness, their mind immediately goes to COVID. The Browns have not confirmed or denied that, which I also don't think is a good thing. I would think if you know for sure it's not COVID, you just deny that right up front to kind of dispel any fears, but a little bit worrisome, something you got to watch out for. I mean,
so the chief medical officer for the NFL came out in response to that and said their policy is if players are suffering any kind of illness whatsoever, they need to isolate because they're not going to take any chances. So as we move into cold and flu season with other illnesses, you can expect to see players missing practices and potentially games. So that's just another, we've seen in the past guys, with the flu or with the cold, they miss almost an entire week of practice and they try to get it out through a game. Given the abundance of caution they're trying to have and the fact that some of the symptoms for these things are so close together.
Similar, yeah.
They're so similar. They're doing, being really cautious. So allegedly that's why Haskins wasn't with the Redskins on Sunday. He woke up, wasn't feeling well, and per the policy, you got to stay away.
Right.
Probably even more important in Washington, where their coach is a little immunocompromised from his treatments. But so the thing to watch, obviously, a Thursday miss is not great, but if he's also away on Friday and seeing what the final game designation will probably be more telling what kind of illness it is. I would think if it was COVID, they would have mentioned, or if it was a fear, because usually you only get sent. And if they thought it was COVID, they would have cleared the building, not just sent one guy home.
That's true. I didn't even really think about that, but definitely something to watch, especially with that. If it's something where it is just a cold, if he's got it for a couple days, or if he ends up running a fever, they won't let him into the building. So that's something we do have to pay attention to. And last but not least, COVID-wise and news-wise, Atlanta shut down their facility today. Now, more news is coming out about that. It seems like it's mostly been, or the only one that's come back for sure positive is a Atlanta staffer that has not been in the building. So that is good news. Looks like it's meaning that Atlanta is likely going to be able to play against Minnesota, which should be a good fantasy matchup. But it's not 100% clear yet, so still something we have to pay attention to.
Well, and the good thing about that game is it's in Minnesota, so I always think it's more you get a little more nervous when it's the home team.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to run down our pick'em really quick before? And while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up my college games I think you should watch for this weekend, and we will call it an episode.
Yep. So through 5 weeks, we've played 77 games. So let me pull up our group here. Currently still in first place, the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Bruni. 54.
Should be 55. Freaking Mike Badgley.
54 correct picks, so going good there. Dennis actually jumped up into second place, had a good week. He is sitting at 52, so just 2 off the pace. Jacob had a little bit of a more uneven week 3, so he's down 51, so he's 3 back. Lindsay and I still tied. Another week of being tied, so we're tied at 47, and then Ricky's sitting at 46.
Gotcha. How do you have our listener one pulled up as well? I'd imagine I'm still pretty close to the top in there because I make the same picks for both of them. I don't ever change it. So,
okay, first place in there. It's still. Oh, so you are tied with Rob.
That's what I was about to
say. Our friend Rob Williams, 54.
There was someone else I knew that was up there earlier.
And then Earl of Dynasty is at 53, so he's not too far behind us. Dennis didn't jump into this one, but so. Hanging strong. You and Rob still tied after 5 weeks.
It's probably because Rob's just like me. Arizona team is actually winning, so when he picks them to win every week, he's not taking those L's like I was last year when I would always pick the Browns. Like that's going to be my conundrum now this week. Is I haven't made my picks yet, and I'm like, do I really pick the Browns to win? Because I think they could, but it's probably going to be Pittsburgh, and it means more now. I'm kind of sitting up there toward the top of the pick'em group. Let's see. College games to watch this weekend. BYU versus Houston Friday night. Zach Wilson, I think, really has a shot to be a really good NFL quarterback. On Saturday, Temple at Southern Florida at 11 o'clock. Our guy Remon Davis or Ray Davis will be playing in that one. Miami Pittsburgh should be another good matchup as well. Derek King, Brevin Jordan, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Addison. I was going to say Clemson, but they're going to roll that game right there. Trying to think of what other game. I mean, Florida LSU was going to be a good game. They won't be playing. UNC versus FSU might be a good one. Sam Howell has looked much better every other week. He's one of the top quarterbacks coming out in next year's draft class, 2022. Florida State has looked a little bit better. Boston College versus Virginia Tech, another good game. Virginia Tech's got a running back that I think is not getting enough talk in Khalil Herbert. He's been actually looked really good leading the NCAA in rushing right now. One of the best breakaway percentages and evaded tackles as well. And because he's a fifth-year senior, I think he's not getting a lot of talk. Boston College also has got a quarterback, Phil Jerkovich, that I really like as well. And then obviously the big game Saturday night, Georgia, Bama. That should be a very interesting game. Now, Nick Saban,
are they actually going to play? That was my
They
question.
are. So for Alabama, nobody tested positive except for Nick Saban and
their athletic director, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so nobody else has tested positive. So as of now, the game is going forward. Their offensive coordinator, also former Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, will be head coach for the game. What I find very interesting, and I'm not I guess I do understand. I was going to say I don't understand, but now I think about it, I do. There was talk that Nick Saban wanted to be able to communicate with Steve Sarkisian during the game because he'll be at home. He can't be at the complex or at the stadium. And they said no. And at first I was kind of like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But now I think about it, I guess he could be watching it on the game broadcast. Maybe he gets different things out of that he wouldn't get sitting on the sideline. So I guess that makes a little bit of sense. But should be a very good game. I mean, Alabama's offense has been very explosive, but their defense has been a little bit suspect this year. And it's the flip for Georgia. Their defense has been really good. One of the best in the NCAA right now. I believe they're allowing an average of like, I think it was 1.8 yards an attempt rushing. So they've been really good defensively rushing the ball, but their offense is a little bit in question here. So it definitely should be a good game. Probably the only one I'm going to get to watch because I'm taking my kids to the air show Saturday. So I'm going to miss out on college football, which makes me a little bit sad, but it is what
you're doing something more important.
That is true, or at least, that's what I tell myself to get through it because, college football, man.
So I think the big question about this Saturday night game is if you're Nick Saban, are you rooting for your team to win with you out there or to fall apart with you not there?
No, he is definitely rooting for them to win because the SEC has been, I'd say a mess is the polite way to put it. A lot of the top teams have already lost. I think it's just Georgia and Bama right now, the only two that haven't lost a game. So if Bama continues to win, they're in for the playoff. I mean, we already saw LSU's lost 2 games. Florida, who's a team that a lot of people really like, they lost to Texas A&M this past weekend. Auburn lost to Georgia this past weekend. So really the top 2 are Georgia and Alabama. If Alabama wins out, they're for sure going to get into the playoff. And that's all that Nick Saban cares about. He wants that natty. So I don't think he cares one bit if they win or don't, he's going to care if they don't win. If they win, he's going to be fine. I can honestly see if they don't win, I can already see the press conferences going on with Saban the next couple. Well, I wasn't there, and it's just that's really hard on my guys, and you can't fault them or fault this team because I wasn't there. Because he really loves to play those pity parties whenever they lose games to try and get himself into the playoffs. So,
and isn't it next weekend? Your conference comes back?
Next Saturday, 11:00, Ohio State versus Nebraska.
Good thing there's an air show on that day.
I would not be going. My wife already knows that, though. I was like, look, we can do anything you want on Saturdays, but once the Buckeyes come back, 11 to 2:30 is blocked off Buckeye time. I have to be here. If I don't, I will die. Like, it's just it's written in my blood. It's just one of those things. You can't – I can't miss a Browns game either. Hey, look, they play early every Sunday afternoon. You want to go late lunch? You want to go do anything? That's cool. It's cool. As long as it's after 3:30, we're good to go. So, yeah, it's one of those things, You know how it is. Lindsay's at a spa day right now because, trying to take care of the same thing. Just do what you got to do. I'll regret it when I see the bank account, but do what you got to do. Let me have my 3 hours and we'll be good to go. So
I think the biggest blessing to all of sports has been the DVR because, you just turn your phone off. You fulfill your obligations. You go, hey, if you had to work more on Sundays, you would learn how to turn it off. But you've got to avoid the coworker that comes in and, did you see that play? No, I didn't. But I was going to see it in 3 hours when I'm at home.
That's my problem is I'm on Twitter and everything so much. I would know before. I can't. There's been a few times that I've had to, what was it, last year? Well, nope. Actually, I take it back. I couldn't even do it. I'm such a piece of shit. I couldn't even make it the whole way through. We had family down here when my grandmother, unfortunately, passed away, and they were down here. My aunt, uncle, two of my aunts and one of my uncles came down, and she used to live fairly close to me. And they came down and they were cleaning out her house and doing all this stuff. So we were down there helping everything, and they wanted to go out and have like a big family dinner on a Saturday night, which happened to be the night of the Big Ten championship game. And so I'm sitting there with like one earbud in, listening to the Fox broadcast in my pocket while we're doing stuff. And then when we go out to eat, I literally quartered myself in the little bit of booth, pulled it up on my phone and was watching it. And it was bad because, for those of you who may not remember, Wisconsin was beating up on the Buckeyes early in that game. It looked like the Buckeyes were going to lose, and I was not happy. I was not even eating my food. I was over there like, oh, fuck, son. Like, I was getting really pissed off. Everybody's staring at me. So yeah, it's
Matt's really taking Nana's death hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was not pretty, but it's the good thing
That's
is
right.
my family understands it, so they just kind of laughed about it and just kept asking me what the score was. So
I'm kind of in the same boat. I know based on my text messages that my mom's watching our live broadcast right now, and one of my fondest childhood memories is back in the when they used to have the AFC NFC championship games. They used to actually have one that started like 9 a.m. Pacific time.
yeah,
And it was brutal when they announced Denver the year that we went and won our first Super Bowl. The AFC championship game was going to be at 9. And this was, cover your ears, kids. This was pre-DVR days. This is where, you pop the tape in and you hoped you had enough tape to make it through the game.
Yeah.
And you also had to wait till the game was completely over to go back to start it. The greatest moment was my mom, well, I guess we can skip church 1 week.
There you go. Hey,
Watch it live.
I just need my wife to say that more often. It's okay. We can skip this. I'm like, this is why I love you. This is why I love you. No, I kid. My wife is very. I still trying to figure out how I'm still married with the amount of things that she juggles around my football schedule. So it's actually fairly nice. But no game tonight, so I guess there's no reason to wish anybody luck in their fantasy matchups tonight because you ain't got anybody going.
Guess it's time to watch Braves-Dodgers Game 4.
You know what? I actually will be watching that. I'm rooting for the Dodgers. I like the Dodgers a lot, so I'm hoping that they can get it. Is the Astros game over yet? Did the cheaters lose? I saw it was stuff on Twitter, and I can't look on Twitter anymore to see what's going on because it's still not working. All right. Me and Dennis will be back tomorrow because Matt is on vacation, but Matt will be back with us on Monday as we recap the Broncos beating the Patriots and hopefully the Browns moving to 5-1 and being probably still second in the division because I think Baltimore is probably going to win this weekend, unfortunately. So, but that's all right. We'll be back. Me and Dennis will be back tomorrow, and then you'll see me and Matt together again on Monday. Until then, we will talk to you guys later.